Hello, hello. Hope you guys are all well. It's Raven, also known as Honey Ray Reads, and I'm here to let you guys know what I'll be reading in the month of September. I'm going to be focused on reading books for 3 different readathons that I want to kind of get involved with this month. The first one is Yonce-Athon, and you can find information about that over at Booking It with Ahtiya's channel. I'm going to link all of that down below. She's the one hosting the Yonce-Athon. The second one that I'm interested in participating in is Sapphic September for obvious reasons. And then the last one is Latin American Heritage Month. And that's not really a specific readathon, or at least I haven't found a specific readathon, but there are a lot of book recommendations that I got off of Instagram, and so I wanted to pick up some of those books because that is not something that I usually incorporate into my usual reading. I don't usually incorporate anything really specifically into my usual reading except for what's really popular, what I have interest in, and just things like that. But I want to make sure that my reading is always super inclusive because I feel like it's very necessary to hear a broad range of stories, especially when you're reading and you're learning lessons and you're learning about other people's cultures and just getting more familiar with the characters of other cultures and other worlds and things like that. So I'm going to go through some of the picks. The Yonce-Athon is all about celebrating Black authors and Black stories, and so there is a bingo board which I'll put above here, and there's also a bunch of other different categories to help you guide your reading. So I'm going to tell you guys the books that I picked for each of those categories and a little bit of why if I have a reason, and not again if I don't. So Yonce-Athon has specific challenges. The main challenges, there's 5 of them, focus on different aspects of Beyonce's Black is King. So I will obviously tell you about those ones that I picked. The first category is Spirit. Read a book by a Black author. So the one that I picked up for this one is Luster by Raven Leilani, and I picked this book up because this is a book that I'm actually buddy reading with my friend Mercedes, and I'm really excited to hear about it. It's about a woman who is in New York and she's kind of trying to get her life together. She ends up getting into a sort of polyamorous, BDSM kind of relationship with a couple, and I just found it really interesting. I want to hear more about it, so that's the book that I picked for Spirit. The second book that I picked is for the category Other Side, which is to read a Black nonfiction book. So that can be a biography, a memoir, essay, or collection of essays. And for that one, I chose Becoming by Michelle Obama because I love Michelle Obama, and I haven't read this book. I know it's absolutely going to make me cry, just like Michelle Obama. I grew up in Chicago, and I just am really excited to hear about her experiences and get some little nuggets of wisdom from a woman who truly is my hero. The next challenge is Black Parade, and this one is about reading a book with an intersectional identity. This one I picked 2 books actually. So the first book that I picked is The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. I've had this on my TBR for a while. It follows a young Black gay man and his experiences living in London and kind of coming of age. This book is told in verse, which I love as a style of reading, so I'm really excited to read it. And then the second book that I chose is Felix Ever After by Kaysen Callender. I started this book already in the month of August, but I wasn't able to finish it, unfortunately. So I only read about 20 pages, but I think I'm just going to restart it for this one so I get a fresh look into it. And Felix is young and Black and trans, and I really am excited to read this story. I've heard a lot of really positive things about it. The fourth challenge is Mood Forever, and that follows, or the whole goal for that one is to find a story that doesn't center on Black trauma. For that story, I picked Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds. I've heard a lot of really cool things about this story. It's a romance between Jack and Kate and how they meet and kind of get involved with each other, and I'm really excited to read it because I feel like I haven't been reading a lot of romance recently, and I'm just excited to see the 2 of them potentially fall in love. I think that's really beautiful. So for Mood Forever, my pick is Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds. There also is a bingo board for the Yonce-Athon, and this one would also qualify for the Black Love bingo square. And for the last challenge, the 5th challenge, is Ja Arai, and that is a story that focuses on Black artistry and storytelling. And for that one, I picked With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This story follows a young single mom and her desires to raise her child, to have a little bit of her independence and identity back after becoming a young teen single mom, and also following her love of cooking. So I'm really excited to read this book. I've had it on my TBR for a while, and I just got the book a couple of weeks ago. So I'm really excited to have an opportunity to read it. All of these books I'm really excited about, but I really want to be able to finish all of them in the month of September, because they've been on my TBR for some of them a short amount of time, some of them for a long time, and I just really think that I'm going to enjoy my reading for this month. The last book that I'm reading for Yonce-Athon is Red at the Bone by Jacqueline Woodson. This is a story that centers around a couple of generations of a family following the main character, who is named Melody, and her parents were teen parents, and a lot of their identity got tied up in raising her, and it's just all about how the family navigates that experience and the ways that it shapes their family. I've heard really good things about this book. I really like it, one, obviously for the story, but also because it's a novella. I am starting back school in September, and I know that I'm not going to have a huge amount of time, but I know that for novellas I can usually literally get through them in about a day. So I'm really excited. I've actually already started reading Red at the Bone today, since it's first month of September, and I'm about 40 or 45 pages in, and I'm really loving it so far. So these are the books that I'm reading for Yonce-Athon. I'm really excited to get through them, honestly. Every single one of these books has been on my TBR for at least a month, and I'm glad that it's not going to be a huge wait before I get to read them. Alright, so the next set of books that I've got for my September TBR have to do with Sapphic September and also Latinx Heritage Month. So I picked up these books, and these are the ones that I'm going to be reading for Sapphic September and Latinx Heritage Month. So let's go through them. The first one that I picked up is Cantoras by Carolina de Robertis, and this is a novel that follows a group of women dealing with the political unrest in Uruguay and also navigating their queer identities. This is, I don't think, historical fiction, but I truly could be wrong, but I've heard really amazing things about it. I've heard that the writing is really beautiful, and I'm excited to dive into that story. The next one that I picked up is We Set the Dark on Fire by Taylor K. Mejia. And this book follows women who are basically trained to be like the perfect wives in the society. So there's a primera and a segunda, and in this story, the primera and the segunda fall in love and basically decide to overthrow the setup of the society that they live in. So I'm very excited. I love two women getting together to overthrow a government. That's all I want, really. That's all I want. The next book that I picked up is The Grief Keeper by Alexandra Villasante. And this story I have not really read a lot of information about. I just saw the cover, honestly, and it was so beautiful. And I know it has to do with people basically kind of transferring grief to other people. And that's really all I know about it. So I'm really excited to read it. I don't usually go into books knowing this little about them, but I feel it in my bones that this one is going to be good. The next one that I have here is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. If you didn't know, she's one of my favorite authors. I really love Poet X. I know I'm gonna love With the Fire on High, and so I already went ahead and picked up Clap When You Land. So this story follows two girls who don't know that they're sisters, but they find out about each other when their father is killed in a plane crash. I already went into this book not knowing a ton, but it already taught me something, because I didn't realize that there was a huge plane crash that also claimed a lot of lives, but because it was so close to 9/11, it didn't get a lot of press attention, which I think is really sad. But I'm excited to read this. One of the characters is queer, and I'm really excited to read about the journey that these two get to kind of have. I really love stories that focus on family, and yeah, so those are the ones that I have for Latinx Heritage Month. There's only 3 of them, but I have a couple, or not 3, there's only 4 of them, but I have a couple of audiobooks that I'm still deciding if I want to add to, because I don't want to overload myself for this month, because I know that starting back in school is going to be a little bit of a hassle, so I want to kind of give myself a little bit of a break there. And then the last book that I'm going to be reading for Sapphic September is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nguyen. And I truly have not heard anything about this book. It is a fantasy book that one of my friends over on Instagram recommended to me, and so I immediately popped out and I found it at Target for like $8, so I went ahead and picked it up. I'm really excited. I really want to get into more fantasy, and this is going to be like the first fantasy book that I've truly like decided and gotten into, so I'm really excited to read it. I'm really pumped about my book choices for this month, and I hope that you guys are pumped about your book choices for this month. If you've already picked your September TBR, let me know what you're going to be reading in the comment section down below. If you like this video, leave it a like, leave it a comment, talk to me, I don't know. And if you really like it, of course, subscribe. We'd love to have you over here on this side of BookTube. But yeah, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Please stay safe, wear your mask. Be careful in all this insane weather, and if you're going back to school, absolutely good luck. I'm freaking out a little bit, but I know it's going to be fine. So, see you guys. Bye! Get a thumbnail holding all these books.